Hey guys, welcome to the Ask Dr. Argie Courageous Conversations Connect series. This is Argie Allen Wilson, founder and CEO of Faith Inc., which stands for Family and Individual Therapeutic Healing, and co-founder of Connections Matter LLC with my husband Morgan E. Wilson Jr. Welcome to Mindful Mondays. Hey, Lucy's on. And Dieta, hey Dieta, oh my goodness, you all make me smile. Welcome to Mindful Mondays. You all know we give you content. We give you content on a regular basis. We've got your Mindful Mondays. We've got your Testimonial Tuesdays. We got your WIOW Work It Out Wednesdays, Thoughtful Thursdays, and yes, Freedom Fridays. And what is this about? It's about having courageous conversations, sometimes trending topics, and rich, juicy topics that are trending. So all I ask you to do is one thing. Oh, I got a little heart from Dieta. Thank you, Dieta. All I ask you to do is one thing. I ask you to STLC, share, tag, like, and comment for me, because this is a what? It's a dialogue, not a monologue, and we want to share for other people. So we got music going on, even in the office in the very beginning, to kind of set the vibe. You know, we start off with Love's Not Forsaken Me, right? And, you know, we'll kind of tune it down a little bit and get into the conversation. We got a lively conversation for you guys. I want to also remind you of a few things that Morgan and I have just launched a new, a new and exciting project called Date Night Drive. So on Fridays or Saturdays, when we go on our date night, we're going to be giving you a word, a tip, and a location that we're going to be going on date night, because we strongly believe that you should be going on date night. So, and we're going to be posting those along with our previous date nights on our YouTube page, Connections Matter TV. So go over to the YouTube page, check it out, along with Re-Entry Point. That's still happening, so we're still doing the casting call for Re-Entry Point, our docuseries. And check our website at drargieconnects.com. We've got some good content. I've been doing some writing, so we got some really, really good stuff going on. So tell me how you like the music. I'm hoping that I'm not yelling like you guys told me I was last time. Yeah, that was DJ Morgan. That was DJ Morgan in the house. Now, maybe there's some calm music. Can't hear myself, babe. DJ Morgan at work again. DJ Morgan, you know, y'all know men can't multitask, you know, and I'm expecting a ha-ha from Lou there, who's watching from Maryland. Hope you're having a good time, Lou. So this is week 23. Do you all believe it? It's week 23. And our monthly theme, since we're still in the month of April, is relationship spring cleaning. And what we decided to do, we decided to talk about something that I think, you know, everybody's going through, but I know I was going through. Even Lou was even helping me out. So since our monthly theme is about relationship spring cleaning, we decided that we would talk about decluttering life's pileups. So I have a question for you. Is procrastination overwhelming you with excess? I'm going to say that again. Is procrastination, or just being stuck, overwhelming you with life's pileups? What kind of pileups might you ask? Pileups with your paper. Is your life overwhelmed with paper? I know my life was overwhelmed with paper for a while, and I'm going to tell you my story in a minute. Is your life overwhelming you with bills? Do you have more bills than you have month, or do you just not have time to open up those bills and go through them, as I have had difficulty when I've gotten really, really busy? Or do you have too many clothes and shoes? Now, for a woman, women will say you never have too many shoes, but really, if you have 10 black pair of shoes, you probably have too many. Or if you find yourself never wearing them because you're wearing your favorites, maybe it's time to purge and give them to someone else. What about baggage? And I'm not just talking about your suitcase. I'm talking about your emotional bags, the relationship bags. Has your life become overwhelmed with relationships that don't serve you well, with baggage that has not served you well, with emotional trauma that has not served you well, or quite frankly, with unfinished business? I heard Ayanna Fassant say years ago when she was, this is before Ayanna Fixed My Life. This is when I have every one of Ayanna Fassant's books. She's an excellent writer. And I actually used to go listen to her. And one time I went to listen to her at the Philadelphia Library, and she talked about finishing it. And she said that a lot of times our lives are so chaotic because we start projects, whether it's household projects, whether it's work-related projects, whether it's going back to school and we haven't finished that, whether it's something in our own personal lives that was a commitment and a goal of something that we were going to accomplish, whether it be working out or eating better, and we just have not finished it. So what happens? It's just like the clothes that we lay on the sofa or the bedroom or the banister, and we add something else and it creates these big piles, right? If I actually had my way today, the topic of this show would just be piles. Piles. Morgan vetoed, just so y'all know, my husband vetoed the title of the show tonight because he didn't like the word pile. And he wanted me to say build or build up, and I didn't really like that either. So, but you did say pile up, and we kind of threw pile in there. But hand me a book. So what was it gonna? Not that book, babe. That's who. Hand me that black book right there, the black one. Yeah, that black one. We have two. Lucy says another book. We typically have two. All right, y'all tell me if that's working for you. Okay. So I want to know what piles are in your life. And are those piles in your life due to procrastination? Are those piles in your life due to being stuck? Are those piles in your life because you just didn't finish it? Like just did not finish it. And one of the things that Ayanna Fassant says is if you can't get it done, then call it finished. Just be done with it. Don't keep talking about it like you're going to accomplish it, and then subsequently it just kind of stays out there in the universe, because that's emotional trauma. In your head, you're thinking, I got to get it done. I got to get it done. I got to get it done. But for real, it's been years since you even looked at that book, or years since you even began the idea that this was going to happen. So it might be that you need to call that done. Say, I've finished it. I've completed my commitment to that thing, whatever it is. Bring closure to it and then move on. And then that opens up the opportunity to create space for something else that perhaps is really more appropriate for you at that particular time. So that's the physical stuff, that's the emotional stuff, that's the relational stuff. I do think that our lives get consumed with stuff internally and externally. And once our lives get consumed with this stuff, it like overtakes us. And we're walking around thinking about it, spending time and energy focusing on it, perseverating over it, and all the while, nothing is getting completed. And so the reason why I put down as topic Marie Kondo, and you all know about Marie Kondo. She is taking the world by storm with her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Now, interestingly enough, I do like her concept. I'm not sure if I particularly would be okay with her method, but her concept is to hold whatever it is that you're thinking about purging up against your heart, and then ask yourself, does it bring you joy? And if it brings you joy, then you should keep it. If it doesn't bring you joy, then you should let it go. Now, I've told you guys before about my concept of letting go and versus losing something, right? And my little example is my earrings. I constantly lose earrings. I don't know why. I think it's because for your ladies, I lose my little post on the back. And when I lose my post, then the earrings come out of my ear, and then I don't feel them because I have to wear very light earrings, so I don't feel them, and then I lose them. And usually when I lose earrings, I go back and try to retrace my steps to determine, to try to find my earring, because I bought them because I like them. And here's the thing. That is the difference. Oh, Morgan says it drives him insane because he is my ally, right? He is my partner. So he has all if I can find my earring. The reason I tell you that is a little bit of an example is because when you lose something, then you want to regain it again. You want to reclaim it. You want to find it again, like my earring. I lose them. I want to find them again. Sometimes I can find them. Sometimes I can't. That is very different than letting go of the stuff, the paper, the bills, the emotional trauma, sometimes letting go of the relationship, even sometimes letting go of the deferred dreams that you had that you didn't accomplish, but you're so busy focusing on that dream that you had that you can't open up your mind to new possibilities and new opportunities for a new dream that may be much more appropriate for what your life is like right now. So you guys tell me if that, I got the thumbs up here. Thumbs up, send me some likes, send me some hearts. You guys know I like smiley faces. And tell me if this resonates, because I know that it resonated, and I'm going to get into a little bit of a story of mine because I try to be transparent once I let you guys know who's on. So I'm going to work backwards. Oh, I got my hearts. I got some hearts, babe. Nicole's on. Hey, Nicole, thanks for joining the show. Shauna is on. Lydia is on. Nicole, my dear niece, is on. Donna is on. Lucy's in Maryland having a good time with her good girlfriend. So say hi to Mary Lou for me. I got to hang out with her at your house. And as I said, Dieta is on as well. So you guys that are on, tell me if you've ever had this issue where you feel like stuck. You feel that somehow your stuckness or your procrastination has gotten you overwhelmed with a pile of something. And I don't know, for you, maybe it's different. For me, and Lou knows, my good girlfriend of 30 years and my assistant now knows, because she's come over to my house to help me with my piles. And one of my piles was my office at my home. And what happened was, how many of you all know that sometimes really great things that are wonderful can also throw the ecosystem off? So that dude over there that I call my husband, that dude over there, the handsome dude over there, we got married, right, on December 28th, 2014. Got to get that right. And when we got married, we, my house was bigger than his, so he moved into what became our home. And yet I had not planned, I should have been planning, but I hadn't planned for another person. And I had lived there for like 15 years. So I spread out. It was just me and my dogs. And when I say spread out, I mean, it's a 4-bedroom big home, and I really spread out. And in every closet, there was something. So I had to create space. So for you ladies out there, single ladies or single gentlemen who are praying for a partner, right? Remember, you got to clear the space if you want a partner to come into your space. That means clearing your physical space as well as clearing your emotional space. I had cleared my emotional space, but I had not cleared my physical space. So now I'm clamoring to create space, and I literally took everything out of 4 closets and just threw it into a room. And since we had 4 bedrooms, it didn't seem like it was that big of a deal until it just got worse, because more and more things started going into that room. After a while, I couldn't even see the floor. I'm going to post a picture. I'm not all that embarrassed because I try to be transparent, right? I'm going to post a picture of what that room looked like before Lucy came over to help me. Well, what? I Anna, you have to give up some space, mental space, emotional space, right? You're opening up your heart, and yes, physical space. So I gave up four closets. I must love this man. I gave up 4 closets. I gave up 4 closets for you. Okay? And then my little office turned into like the junk room. And I literally, if you opened the door, you would think, Dr. Argie, are you a secret hoarder? Yeah. It was pretty bad, right? And I'm now recovering. Lucy is helping me recover. My name is Dr. Argie, and I'm a recovering secret hoarder of the room, of the office. And so now we see floor space, and we're working on it. And I think we have a projected date of probably June for it to be all cleared out so that I can make my office. But here's what I want you really to know is that not only did I not plan for what I was praying for. I was praying for a partner and I got one, but I hadn't planned properly for the space that I was living in to share it. That was number one. And number two, I had to really pay attention to what I was holding on to. Because like I said, with my little example of the earrings, if I'm honest with myself, there were a lot of things in that space that I was holding on to unnecessarily, and I wasn't willing to really let them go. So I had to really do some internal soul searching and do an inventory on what was that about, that I was trying to keep all of this stuff that I had had for years, and I had assigned meaning to them, even though I hadn't opened that book for years, I hadn't looked at that paper that I had written for years. But what was interesting, guys, is that the meaning that I realized that I had behind why I was holding on to a lot of that stuff was because it was during a very lonely time for me. Because I was working on my papers and my schoolwork, and I was spending a lot of time just me and the dogs. And that time meant so much to me because it was very stressful. And in some ways, I think that I hadn't really fully healed. Sometimes when you're really able to let go of something, it means that you have embarked on your healing journey and that you've moved either beyond it or you've grown through it, right? You guys have heard the saying, if you're not over your ex, you can't move on to your next. So sometimes if it's not a room full of stuff, it might be your mind, body, and spirit full of emotions that do not allow you to let go of that past traumatic experience. And so those emotions are piling up in your head and your mind and your spirit, right? And not allowing you to move on to, quite frankly, what God has for you, living your best life. Y'all tell me what you think about that. I'm interested in your piles. OB is on. Hey, OB, thanks for joining the show. A Fawcett is on. Facade. I don't know what's her first name. Denise? Okay. Hey, Denise. Thanks for joining the show. It says A Fawcett. Sometimes people put other things on here that are not actually their name. Hey, Marnie. Oh my goodness. Oh, I just saw that picture. Okay. When you had hair and a weird Groucho Marx mustache. Anywho. OB is on. Thanks for joining the show. My cousin Marnie is on. Thanks for joining the show. Your friend Morgan says, right before I got married, I practiced living in half of my bedroom because I was accustomed to being in there by myself. Interesting enough, I had said in my own head that when I got married that I was going to have, this was just in my head, I was going to have my bedroom, or our bedroom, right, my husband and I, and then I was going to have like my separate bedroom, like for if he got on my nerves, I could just go in my separate bedroom. And I got kicked out. He's an environment bully. He's an environment bully. That's what you are, man. You're an environment bully. Morgan says I'm an environment bully. Yes, how many of you all believe that? Yes. Thumbs up, raise your hand. Does this face look like the face of an environment bully? I'm just saying. I don't think so. You all tell me what you all think. I am a little bossy though. Erica's on. Erica Bennett, thanks for joining the show. Oh, she said Deneen. Okay, now I know. She was like loud. Simi's on. Hey, Simi, thanks for joining the show. Listen, you guys, what I need you to do is I need you to STLC for me. Share, tag, like, and comment. Right? You share this because someone else might not be able to see this in real time, right? They may be able to see it at another time. And we always say this is a dialogue, not a monologue. So if you share it, then other people get to experience it as well. And they also hopefully get to benefit from it. This is the goal, for us to live our best lives, for us to have courageous conversations, for us to learn from each other, because we're trying to create a crew, right? And what crew means here is connecting relationships for epic wins. This is a community where we're all in it together. So if you're just hopping on, this is the Ask Dr. Argie Courageous Conversations Connect series. And today we are talking about, this is Mindful Mondays, we are talking about decluttering life's pileups. Well, what does that really mean? Have you procrastinated to the extent that there's just stuff all around you, that you're living a life of excess? Excess in every area of your life? What about the paper that's consuming you? The mail comes no matter whether you open or not, so it just can pile up. What about the clothes and shoes in your closet? Are you just pulling out, were you like me at one time, pulling out the stuff that's on the front, but you got all this stuff in the back, sometimes even stuff with tags on it, but you can't get to it because everything has piled up? What about how, things like your relationship issues, have they piled up? So maybe it's not your physical space, but it's your emotional space, and you find yourself not, your usual self, maybe even acting out of character because you haven't attended to the spring cleaning that we've been talking about. Spring cleaning is important, but it's very interesting that a lot of times people think that spring cleaning is just about your physical space. It's about your physical space. It's about your emotional space. It's about your relational space, even your familial space. It's about sort of taking an inventory of what's going on in your life and where are the spaces and places in your life becoming cluttered to the extent that you can't see the forest for the trees. If you're like me, in my junk room, you couldn't see the floor space, but it could be you, and you don't have a clearing in your emotional space, so that you're walking around with like you're in a fog, that you're unable to think clearly or speak clearly or function in the way you once functioned in order to get things done, because you have gotten clogged up, right? Clutter is taking over our lives. And Marie Kondo says that anything that you have, you should ask yourself, does it bring you joy? Do the relationships in your life bring you joy? Do the material things that you have bring you joy? Is the house that you live in, does that bring you joy? Does your job bring you joy? What are the things? And make a list, guys. Make a list of the various parts of your life. This is how I would do it. I would draw a round circle and draw lines like you're making like a pizza pie slices, right? And then after you make the pizza pie slices, then put, home life, then put relationships, then put family, then put work life, whatever else, school if you're in school, and then put the things in there that bring you joy, right? Then I want you to draw another circle, pizza pie lines, right? Put the same areas, the same kind of labels on those particular slices, and then put in there if there's anything that does not bring you joy.
Do it.
That
Wednesday, you should probably have that out,
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so I'll have a diagram for you Wednesday so that you can know it, and then we'll put it on the website so that you can download it and you can use it for yourself as well. And I think that this will be a way for you to actually see it, because most of us are very, we like tangible things, right? And then we like tactile. We want to touch it. We want to see it. Sometimes we're very auditory, and so this could be a good tool for you to begin the purging process of your spring cleaning. And for some of you, you might have a problem in your physical space. You might be like Marie Kondo. Everything is in its place, right? I used to have the one touch theory. That was kind of before I got married and things got a little chaotic, but I still do it now. I stay on the hubby over there for the shared space, because the one touch theory also is that if you take it off like your jacket, you've touched it, now put it in its place, as opposed to putting it down on a sofa or on a banister or something like that. It's the one touch theory. Morgan says it's very anal, right? It's very hard to do. For me, I have worked the muscle, because what it does for me is it allows me not to have to go back and touch it again to move it. So for some people, think about that. Everything that you wear in the morning or you put on in the morning or that you touch, if you just put it back in the space that it belongs, then you don't have to go back and redo it. But if you throw it down wherever, then you may spend a whole day trying to clean up, or it just adds on to the already piling up piles that you already have. Tell me what your thoughts are, and I'm going to see who else is on. So, let's see. Tyra's on. Hey, Tyra, thanks for joining the show. Roger's on. Hey, Roger. He gave me a big thumbs up. Tell me, what are your Morgan, did you write that I'm an environment bully? Did you write that? So it looks like, since you're writing for me, it looks like I'm saying that I'm an environment bully, like I'm calling myself an environment bully. That's my husband writing that. He has administrative rights. So when you see him saying things, and it looks like it's coming from me, it's actually coming from him. But I'm not going to call myself an environment bully. He's the environment bully. Hey, Erica. Erica's joining the show. So tell me, where are your piles? What are you struggling with? I don't believe that there is any shame in us struggling. We all struggle with something. It's a shame sometimes, though, if we don't do anything about it to resolve it, to heal from it. Got some tips for you. If you're in a relationship, you can use these for yourself as well. Not to get post-nasal drip again. So if you're in a relationship and you find that you have very different styles of organization and you're getting overwhelmed with piles, take inventory about what is different about the way you think about your space. Because by and large, you're two different people, so it is going to be different. And sit down and look at the problem from both sides and figure out as a team how you can address it. It does not help to blame and shame. And you probably didn't know all of these things maybe before you became partners, in terms of, in fact, Morgan, I think he said one time to my father, he was like, "Why didn't you tell me she was crazy? You should have told me." Because I like everything in its place, right? I'm very, very OCD. You all see my office, everything's got a place for it. And Morgan is the exact opposite. Like, he likes to take things out. There are some days when he's opening closets and leaving drawers open, and I'm going behind him and shutting them. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm like, Lord help me. So if you have different styles, then sit down and talk about it. I got some smiley faces and I got some grumpy faces. Divide and conquer. Be on the same team if you're in a relationship. If it's not working, hire a professional organizer. Sometimes you may need it, especially for places like the basement, places like the garage, places that, if you'd be surprised when you're living in a space for 5, 10 years or whatever, what things you bring in. And so here is the metaphor. Many of us keep bringing things into our spaces, but we never purge. So therefore, eventually, the space becomes too small for whatever it is that you've brought in, because you're bringing things over and over again. And that's why we need to purge, but not just our physical space. I want to make the case for the fact that periodically we need to purge our relationships. We need to sit down and have the courageous conversation. What's in our relationship that is not healthy? Are we talking to each other in ways that are not appropriate? Are we holding on to past wounds or hurt or injury? Are we, character assassinating, or, holding on to the spirit of unforgiveness that then plays itself out in our passive aggressive or aggressive behavior with our partners? if we're not doing those, if we're not really addressing those things, then they can become the emotional piles in our relationship, right? And then you wonder, well, what happened? I fell in love, I fell in like, we were having a great time, and all of a sudden now, it doesn't look like I'm partnered with my best friend anymore. That may be because you've got too many emotional piles in your relationship, and you need to sit down and figure out how to purge some of that stuff. But by the way, in order to do that, you have to talk about it. You have to have the courageous conversation about and assess how did we get here? And if we got here, because we just didn't know any better, or we were so busy, or we kind of fallen apart from each other, let's do the work to fix it. Let's do the work to reconcile the issues in our marriage, in our relationship, and then begin the process of healing. So don't let the clutter, the chaos, the disorganization ruin your relationship. You can still do something about it. You just got to take the first step, I would say, before it's too late. Sometimes it gets to be too late, and then all of that build up. See, Morgan, I used your word. All of that builds up, impacts your relationship, and you can crash and burn very, very quickly. Janae is on. Hey, Janae, thanks for joining the show. Beata says that's a great practice. It ensures you can find things when you need or want them. Yes, there is nothing worse than in the morning when you're rushing to get to work or wherever your destination is. You're looking for that purse or that favorite pair of shoes, or you're looking for that jewelry or even your wallet, and you can't find it because it's under piles. And if everything has a place, including your keys, by the way, if you don't have like a little rack somewhere that you put your keys on the hook, they could be anywhere. That's what we have. So I'm not trying to project that everyone should be as OCD as me, but it really does help to kind of clear your head, a clearing of your thought process so that you can focus on other things. Donna says, I absolutely agree. Everything has a place. And if you remove it, put it back. I agree, Donna, although everybody doesn't think that. Nina's on. Hey, Nina. Thanks for joining the show. That's my sister's BFF. Deneen says, good word. Thank you, Deneen. Listen, this is not a monologue. It's a dialogue. It's for all of us. Tell me what you're struggling with. Perhaps we can work it out together. Tell me if you've ever had a situation where you were wondering why you were stuck. Sometimes we get stuck in a holding pattern, right? And think about that from the perspective, I've got two metaphors that you probably can resonate with. One metaphor is like a plane. If you've ever been on a plane that was in a holding pattern for whatever reason, like maybe it was a storm or they couldn't land for some reason, I know that that's happened to me a couple times when I was in the air, and I became nervous because I was thinking to myself, well, what happens if this plane runs out of gas? It's in this holding pattern, right? And think about it from the perspective of our lives when we're in a holding pattern. When we're in the holding pattern of our lives, we're not ascending or descending. We're just going around in circles in limbo, right? And what happens if in our lives going around in that circle where we're not going up, things aren't getting better for us, they're not getting worse, we're not descending either. But eventually we or the relationship crashes because we're not doing the necessary things to create the space in order for us to not just survive, but to thrive. So that's one metaphor. The other metaphor is, depending on what's going on in your life, I always say this for relationships, we all have to put our oxygen mask on first, right? And what will happen in our lives is that we get busier and busier and busier. We become like a dog chasing his tail. We're going around and around and around, right? And perhaps being pretty productive, or I like to use the example of going up a down escalator where we never get to the top. We think that we're being productive, but during the process of us not really taking good care of ourselves, in some ways our environments are falling apart around us, right? So then you look around, because we really are a product of our environment. And if we used to be kind of neat, now I'm not talking about for the folks that really just don't care and they've just kind of always been a little messy, that's just your norm, that's fine, no judgment here. But for the people who something has drastically changed for you, and you used to be a little organized, and now you've got piles of bills and paper to catch up on, the dishes are in the sink, the clothes are not washed, the bed is not made, you've got to, every room's like it's a junk room, and life is just spiraling out of control. If that is happening in your physical space, it would be a reasonable leap to assume that that's probably happening in your emotional space and in your relational space and maybe in your familial space and even in your professional space, because life is, I got the from Morgan. You all don't even know though, but when I get a from him, that's saying something, like, because he doesn't give me my kudos all the time. Oh, cool. The spaces, I want you guys to think about the spaces and places in your life that are cluttered. And I want you to look around, and if your physical space is reminiscent of what looks like the tornado that hit, y'all remember this Saturday, if you're from Philly, the tornado came through really quickly and trees went down and all that. It was a little scary, came through fast and furious. Well, if your physical space is reminiscent of that, then it could be that these other areas are also very similar to what's going on in your physical space, as well as your relationships and your internal processes. So I want you to think about that and think about, how that has manifested in your life. Hey, Kim, thanks for joining the show. I hope you had a great time at the conference last week. And, Kim Upshaw has this book. And put it in the chat, Kim. Yeah, put your book in the chat so that those who are interested or maybe even struggling with infertility or are struggling with barrenness, they can read your book, and then I know it will bless them. So put it in the chat for us. Debbie is on. Thanks, Debbie, for joining the show. Lou says yes. So if any of you are brave enough to be transparent, can you share? Because this is a community. We're about connecting relationships for epic wins. And what I've learned on all these years of doing clinical work is I've learned that I'm not, and other people are not so interested in perfect people, right? Because I don't think that there aren't anybody that's perfect. What I am interested in is I'm interested in people who have struggled with something, just something, and then what did you do? Because I'm always thinking, well, if you did it and you grew through it, then one, blessings are in the neighborhood, and perhaps I can do it too, right? And so then that means that what happens is we all start lifting each other up because we're all humanizing who we are together. So then we rise together because we speak life into each other. So you got some kind of story about what you're struggling with as it relates to piles or being overwhelmed, decluttering. It is spring cleaning. It is spring, right? Even in your yard, we had to do the spring cleaning in our yard, and give me some smiley faces or some thumbs up if you resonate. You live in a place where you got lots of trees and leaves. You can't, and even your gutters, you can't just leave that stuff there. You have to clean it. Otherwise, it creates more of a problem. Karen's on. Hey, Karen, thanks for joining the show.
So, what about relationships? We got to purge. Kind of talked about it a little bit last week, but I think that they may need to really engage the conversation. How do you do that? What's the process?
So Morgan thinks that we should talk about, I don't know if you guys remember, I did a segment back in the beginning of the year talking about decluttering relationships and out of your lives. And that's kind of a hard one. I don't think that everybody realizes that they sometimes need to do that. Sometimes we keep people in our lives past their expiration date, right? And if that is the case, I talked a little bit last week about us kind of, in fact, I did a Thoughtful Thursdays that everybody really, really resonated with. And I talked specifically about what does it look like if we've kind of screwed the process up, and that people that were meant to live and be in our lives for a lifetime, the lifers, as I call them, we made seasonal people. And yet the seasonal people, we've made lifers. And so we've inverted it in such a way that it's sort of antithetical to allowing us to live our best life, and it's not serving us very well. And so I also use the metaphor in that post about diamonds, right? And I asked people, diamonds they last forever, right? And I said, are your relationships diamond relationships, or are they zirconian relationships? And are you taking the diamonds and throwing them away? Who would throw away diamonds, right? Or are you those zirconian relationships? Are you trying to keep them forever when that was never meant for them to be in your life forever? And so decluttering, I see you have some. Oh, okay. So decluttering your relationships really, it means that you've got to go deeper to assess. And sometimes that means going deeper in prayer. That means going deeper spiritually. That means connecting with yourself in a way that you may have not been connected in the past. And it also means being prepared to deal with sometimes either loneliness or feeling like that you've become alone, in order to adapt to your new norm. But it absolutely is necessary, because if, again, you're not over your ex, you can't move to your next. And sometimes we keep people in relationships way longer than we should have. Why? Because we're scared. We're fearful. Okay. All right. I see you, babe. I was moving right there. So the editor says, that's great. A great passage. Oh, wait a minute. On that one, not that one. Okay, Wanda Upshaw. I see. Oh, I see it. So Dieta says, I'm struggling with trust. After my divorce 7 years ago, I haven't dated. My daughter says, I'm afraid. Interesting enough, I just talked about fear. So it was right on point. And thank you for your transparency. You all know we talked about truth, trust, and transparency leads to transformational breakthroughs, right? And I see some smiley faces, but I see some faces with tears, and I'm not sure always what that means. Maybe it means we're tapping into something, and that's good, because we're into having courageous conversations. And I think, Dieta, your daughter's right. First of all, you're just beautiful, right? You are beautiful on the inside and the out, and certainly whomever the person is that God has designed for you, Lord Jesus, they would be so blessed. However, unfortunately, they're not going to come knock on your door. You're going to have to be out. You're going to have to take risks. You're going to have to put yourself in a target-rich environment. And that is hard when you've been hurt. That is hard. For most of us, I dare say all of us, go through or struggle through having been hurt and injured in a past relationship, and subsequently causes us to distrust and not move to not be open to a present relationship. Babies touch stoves and then they don't want to touch the stove again if it burns them. But we're babies all grown up, and if we get burned, it's very difficult for us to want to go down that path again. But I'm going to share something with you guys that my very good friend Sheila Boynton shared with me when I was a servant leader for the SAS ministry. She shared it with our group, and I never forgot it. I thought it was so powerful. She said, if you lock other people out, you're also locking yourself in. I want to say that again. If you lock everybody else out, then you also are locking yourself in. So that's one statement. And I always give credit to the people that share pearls of wisdom with me, because I want to share them with other people as well. And so my husband's spiritual father and I would say my mentor and friend as well, Gene Austin Jefferson, always says that fear and faith can never reside in the same space, right? Fear and faith can never reside in the same space. So even though you may be fearful, Dieta, and for all of those who are listening and we're joining in on this dialogue, even if you're fearful, as TD Jakes says, go fearful, right? Go awkward, go fearful, take the risk, do it anyway, jump, leap, fly, soar, whatever it is that you have to do in order to free yourself, to be open to the opportunities that are designed specifically for you when it comes to partnership. Because we're only on this planet for a short period of time, and where there's birth, there's death, and then there's the dash. And of course, if as believers, you believe in the eternal life. But while we're here on this planet, there's a dash and there's some stuff for us to do. And I believe that it is designed, our lives are designed abundantly and to be partnered if that's the God's design. So go for it. Okay. So go for it. Well, I see Wanda. I see it right here, babe. So Wanda says, this is so true, Dr. Argie. I find that when my surroundings are full of clutter, things in my life tend to be a mess. We were going to use that word mess too, Morgan. It typically has to do when I'm dealing with relationship issues with friends or family, and I struggle with this often. And then she says, however, when I snap out of my emotional mess and put things back in order, I sometimes feel like I am just covering up the problem and not fixing the problem. Okay, gotcha. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Wanda. I think that it's a blessing that you were courageous enough to share that on this platform. I hope that you guys, STLC, share, tag, and like, and comment, because in the sharing is caring, and that means that other people get to experience this dialogue even after the live series is over. I want to say something about what Wanda just said with regards to, just life being a mess. And, then sort of she snaps out of it and then she'll kind of straighten things up. But sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves. I'm snapping out of it because somebody says, girl, you just need to get over it, right? And sometimes just getting over it is not going to get it. Sometimes getting over it doesn't get it. Sometimes we have to grow through something. Our healing process is, as Sheila Boynton said, an ing, not an ed, so you don't just get over it. And I say we grow through it. We grow through it together, because our life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And when we're injured, it may take a while to heal, because the injury didn't happen overnight. Therefore, the healing is not going to happen overnight. So be patient with yourself. And grow through the process. And of course, you all know I'm always going to be a proponent of therapy. I don't believe that we have to suffer in silence. Sometimes there are safe places and very trained therapists. And if we had a physical condition, we'd go to the doctor, we'd go to the hospital. Why not go to your therapist, or maybe sometimes a spiritual advisor or your pastor or what have you, to really process and develop the skills that you need in order to not only heal and survive, but then ultimately to thrive. And again, paying attention to your physical environment is really key so that you can grow through it. Let me see who else is on. Robin's on. Hey, Robin, thanks for joining the show. Dewana is on. Karen is on. Thanks for joining the show. Darlene is on. Hey, Darlene. I see Robin. Ruth Ann is on. Hey, Ruth Ann, thanks for joining the show. Did I miss anybody? Got everybody? Got everybody. Okay, and then I see Tom as well. Okay, so I'm going to read Ruth Ann's comment. I kept my ex 13 years too long, and we are getting divorced, separated 8 months, and my daughter wants me to get back out there and date, but I don't want to ever again. Oh, Ruth Ann. First of all, I'm sorry that this is happening to you. And we know when people get divorced and separated, sometimes it does affect the children. And so it involves the whole family. So my condolences to you. Divorce can be very much like a death. That is for sure. I've seen it too often. That said, I also would say that, perhaps the relationship did last too long for whatever reason. And if it wasn't a healthy relationship, then I'm sure that there's ways in which you need to heal from it. And so I would say, and that was a question last week, I believe, when people said, do you need to go right back out into a relationship? And I think that the healing process is really, really important, because if you move into another relationship too quickly, then you can crash and burn quickly. Sometimes it's a rebound because people don't want to feel lonely. They want to, sort of have a distraction to their emotional feelings. But in order to heal, I said this and I always say this, you have to feel, and you cannot feel what you do not reveal. All right. In order to heal, you have to feel, and you cannot feel what you do not reveal. So that's the case for therapy. Sometimes therapy will peel back the layers, like the layers of an onion. But what happens when you actually cut or you peel back the layers of an onion? What really physically happens? You cry, right? And in the tears are a part of the purging process as well. So everybody knows I have plenty of tissues in my office. And so if people are feeling emotional or they're processing the trauma that's happened to them in a relationship or through some tragedy that has occurred, or if they've experienced any kind of loss, whether it be a divorce or a death, then absolutely crying is a part of the healing process. And so that's a good thing. I thank you, Ruth Ann. I would say that while you're going through this process for you and your daughter, or if you have other children, doing therapy is going to be really important for your healing process. Darlene said, I needed this so much. I'm so glad. That's music to my ears. Ruth Ann said, amen. Ruth Ann said, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. Samuel Odoms is on. Thanks for joining the show, Samuel. Anybody else? Marcia. Hey, Marcia. She's on. Thanks for joining the show. Let's see. Ruth Ann says she thinks I'm lonely, but I'm not. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you are not. Perhaps, people have said to me when they actually experience the final, not the final separation, but the beginning parts of a separation, moving towards divorce, because the relationship was so traumatic during those periods of time, then people will feel a sense of relief. They will also feel a sense of sadness sometimes, because nobody walks down the aisle thinking that, oh, I'm so excited that I'm going down this aisle because I'm going to get a divorce. Nobody's setting themselves up for that, right? But what happens is if it does not work out, then there may be a sense of relief, especially if you've had a lot of trauma, and then the other emotions will set in as well. So I encourage people to feel it, right? If you can't heal it if you don't feel it. So feel it, process it, begin to understand it, and then begin the process in your journey towards the healing so that you can move to your new norm, whatever that new norm is. Amanda Marie is on. Thanks for joining the show. No more tears left, Ruth Ann said. Well, you probably cried them all out, which I totally understand. Thank you so much. You are so welcome. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Absolutely. Thanks, Morgan. That's absolutely true. I often say that there are people that are alone, right? That means, and by definition, you're not partnered, if you will. So you're alone, but not lonely. I can tell you that there are many years that I was alone, but I was not lonely. I had lots of beautiful people in my life to fill up my life in an abundant way, and sort of wasn't walking around like I was lonely. But you are lonely. There's no shame in that either. It's important for you to think about why it is why you are lonely. Morgan is, I don't know what you're doing over there, babe. It's important to think about, if you are lonely, what things you need to do to begin the process of self-care, right? Self-care, self-preservation, self-love. I did a workshop, it was a long time ago. It was called Dare to Be Lovely. And I was doing a segment on the Today Show, and this woman said, remind yourself that you need to dare to be lovely. And I really liked the word dare, because I was like, you remember that game years ago, Truth or Dare? It means that you are taking a risk to dare to be lovely, lovely on the inside, lovely on the outside. How I interpret that is daring to have a love affair with yours truly, right? Because here's the real deal, that sometimes we want other people to fall in love with us and treat us well, but we want them to do more than we are willing to do for ourselves. And if you are desiring partnership, or you're in a partnership, it is important that you, again, put your oxygen mask on first, but also that you love and like you. And if you don't love and like you, how are you going to love and like somebody else? So if that's your work, right, because we've all got our work to do, and if that is your work, in this healing process, in this purging process, in this spring cleaning process, that's your work, then let's roll up your sleeves and get to work. List the things you like and love about yourself. Begin the process of thinking about what you used to do that you don't do anymore. Begin the process of thinking about things that you've never done before that you wish you had done or you would like to do. And get busy. Become about the business of loving and liking you and living absolutely your best life, right? Loving the way you live, as my friend Charlie Lewis would say. That's important because, you know, sometimes tomorrow, well, all the time, tomorrow is not promised to us. And the shame is that some people die before they ever lived. And you don't want to be that person that is living and breathing, but really not present and not setting yourself up to show up big in your life to live your best life. Because that's what people are attracted to. They're attracted to that energy where you say, oh, it's not that I don't have any problems. It's not that I'm not stressed about some stuff, but I'm not going to allow those stressors to do me in. So, Wanda said, very important. Did I miss anybody, babe? Ruth Ann said, I've been by myself for a long time, even though we were together for 13 years. Wow. You know, she's dropping knowledge. You're dropping some knowledge. And I so appreciate your transparency. Truth, trust, and transparency leads to transformational breakthroughs. And I will tell you, in this practice for I've been here in this particular practice for over 12 years, and I've been practicing for over 20 years. And I will tell you that there are a lot of people that are lonelier in a relationship than they are out of one. So just because we partner, sometimes doesn't mean that we partner with the right person. And sometimes, you know, people always say, well, pray about it and God will send you the person. And the question you have to ask yourself is that, did you listen to God when you made that decision, or did you listen to yourself? Because maybe listening to yourself got you what you got. And as a result, it has not been a healthy relationship. Healthy relationships are not perfect. Absolutely not. What healthy relationships are it's two people who are willing to do the work to make it better, to evaluate what's working periodically, to evaluate what's not working periodically, to own your own stuff, right? Hold yourself accountable. The other thing I like to say is that love, light, truth, and accountability equals hope and freedom. So if you're in a relationship, and relationship is about sharing love, sharing light, but also being truthful and holding each other and yourself accountable, then that gives you hope to live another day, fight another battle, hope to like just move forward. And it also allows you to be free, right? And what that means when I think about freedom is that we're free to live our best lives, right? Because we're not here to like, I don't know, sit on the sidelines. We're not here to be a part of the rehearsal. We're here to like stand on notice that we're about living the best life that we can possibly live while we're here. So if that means bypassing some of that fear, or at least acknowledging the fear and doing it anyway, like TD Jakes says, then do it. Take the risk. Take the risk. Big risk, big gain. Little risk, little gain. Tell me what you think about that. We started off this conversation and then Kenneth hopped on. Kenneth Berry, thanks for joining. Lee Burgess hopped on. Thanks for joining the show. Who else? Ruth Ann, I'm reading a book called Dare to Be Devoted by Natalie Grant and Carol Gambell. How is it? Tell me about the book. I haven't heard about it, but it sounds good. Just so you know, by the way, if you guys like this content, I am working on several books. So I am speaking that into existence. Part of my journey to be a full-time entrepreneur with my husband, Morgan, and also to be a practitioner and do what I love to do is to free me up, right? To free me up to be creative, to free me up to write the type of writing that I like to do. By the way, I've always believed that I was a great writer. I just never had the confidence or never had the courage to step out on my own and really live my best life. So when I'm speaking to you, I'm also speaking to myself. because it's important that you know that even as a therapist, I've also had some concerns and challenges and fears and frustrations. And one of those was like, God, what do you have for me? What do you have for me in this season of my life when I've worked so hard to build somebody else's dreams? And several opportunities kind of passed me by that I was looking into. And finally God said, and I asked the question, I was like, God, why is this happening to me? And God said, this is not happening to you, this is happening for you. And what I interpret that is, and I don't know if this resonates for you all, but I interpreted that is God saying, those doors are not open for you right now because I have something greater for you. And I believe that is for all of us, that doors sometimes close because other ones will open, right? And if access is restricted for us, it's sometimes for our own good, even though we don't realize it at that particular time. So it's important that we go deeper. Remember last week we talked about spiritual awakening, and when we're in a crossroads, or when we're feeling overwhelmed, or we're feeling like we are stuck in a holding pattern, when we feel like the procrastination is leading us down a path where all the spaces in our life are filled with clutter, even our relational spaces, sometimes it's time for us to go through a spiritual awakening that might move us to a place where we need to be with ourselves. I don't say by myself. I hope that even that small tip could be helpful to you. So for those of you who are maybe alone, maybe even a little lonely, spend time with yourself. If you're pretty cool, hang out with you, right? Spend time sowing into yourself. Spend time speaking life into yourself. Spend time affirming yourself. You want to be taken out on a date? Take yourself out on a date. You want somebody to buy you flowers? Buy yourself flowers. You want a love letter? Write a love letter to yourself. All of these things sound hokey to somebody, but guess what? Not only have I tried these for myself, but I've also encouraged many people to do these things, and they've been helpful, because it feels so amazing when you're able to speak life into oneself and encourage oneself. And what's really interesting is that positive energy that we're giving ourselves that is lined up with our source, right? Then we're also giving it out into the universe. So it goes from up here to in here to out. In-reach, outreach, in-reach, outreach, and upreach. In-reach, outreach, and upreach. And then vice versa. So then people are connected with that energy that we have. And the best is then yet to come. We don't even know what is in store for us when we are speaking life into ourselves, and quite frankly, speaking life into other people, right? Because this is a community. So if you like this content, STLC, share, tag, like, and comment. Tell me where you struggle. Tell me, this is the Ask Dr. Argie Courageous Conversations Connect series. It's called that for a reason. We're having courageous conversations. Tell me where you struggle. This is Mindful Monday, so we are all always mindful on Mondays about what we're going through, what we're trying to grow through. And so I decided that we would talk about decluttering our life's pileups. Where's your life piling up? Is it your relationship? Are you procrastinating so you feel stuck in that area? Or do you not feel stuck in that area, but your physical space is just backed up because you got stuff everywhere, right? Is that impacting how you're living? Is it impacting how you're working, right? Because many of us don't have work-life balance, and it's all out of whack, out of alignment, because we really haven't stopped to really process what happens. All of us, I use this metaphor of going around like a dog chasing its tail. All of us are working so hard and we're moving so fast, like the speed of light, that it's very difficult for us to sit still for a moment and really process if we've had some trauma in our childhood, or we've had a bad relationship that's impacted both ourselves and our families, or if we are in the workplace and we're just getting beat up on a daily basis because of sexism or racism or, ageism, or socioeconomic status, or, just because you're polka dot. I mean, these days, the level of exclusion for anything is just pervasive. And we tend to move away from people that are different simply because they are different, not because they're because of any reasonable fashion, if you will. So tell me what your thoughts are about that. I'm going to see who else has hopped on. Wanda, let's see. I think I read Wanda's before. Yeah, she was saying she was covering up the problem or fixing the problem. Oh, I do. It stopped for a minute. Okay, so Tom said, "Hi, Dr. Argie. Recently discovered I have developed a large bumps." No. Oh, it's still okay. Yes. All right. It's great. It's interesting. He was banned? Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know how I got way back. So that was the book. Now I'm caught up. So Christopher's on. Thanks for joining the show. Lee's on. Melvin and Austin is on. Thanks for joining the show. Muumbi. Tell me if I got it right. Muumbi, I think. Tell me if I got it right, Muumbi. And if I didn't, tell me again. I practiced it, so I would get it right. It's awesome. It's about how to learn to be closer to God, 30 days. Oh, that's the book. And you read a chapter a day, and it has different stories about how to get closer to God. Oh, I love it. Love it. So that book that Ruth Ann recommended to us is called Dare to be Devoted. So I love that. That sounds really, really great. Erica's on. Ayana's on. She's a recent graduate. Congratulations again, Ayana. Atia's on. Thanks for joining the show. Inger is on. Marshall is on. Jamel's on. Hey, Jamel. Thanks for joining the show. Warren is on. Let's see. So Lee says, I've been on a cruise and traveled by myself, and I'm my best friend. I love it. I love it. You know, I think I was just talking to a client of mine who travels by herself quite a bit. I've only tried it a few times. I did like it. I think for women and maybe even men, you do have to be really careful and not let people know that you're traveling by yourself, because people can try to take advantage of you. We do live in a pretty crazy world these days, but you know, it's important for us to take care of ourselves in whatever way is, you know, brings us joy. We started off this okay, Muumbi. I almost had that right. All right. Okay. Thank you, Muumbi. Thank you for joining the show. I can see how people get it wrong, though, because how it's spelled. And people, I told you, have always, I still get mail that says R period G period, because my name sounds like Argie, R period G period, or argue. When you type it, it comes up argue. Or sometimes people just think it's Angie. So as opposed to calling, or Argie, they'll call me Argie or Angie. So it's good to tell people what the correct pronunciation of your name is. If you guys are just joining the show, we've been talking about decluttering your life. If you just joined the show, I'd love for you to STLC, share, tag, like, and comment. This dialogue is for everyone, even the persons that may not be able to see this on the live feed. And we've got some great things coming up. So I ask you guys to check out our YouTube page, right? There's the Dr. Argie YouTube page, and then Ask Dr. Argie YouTube page, and there's also the Connections Matter LLC YouTube page as well, where we're going to have a new episode that Morgan and I are doing called Date Night Drive, where we give a word, we give some tips, and then we give a location a restaurant where we're going to go and hang out. It's going to be just fun, right? It's just going to be a fun experience, and you know, you all get to know what we do, where we're going. You can't know everything, but you get to know some of what's going on in our lives, because we do like to have fun. We work hard, so we believe in playing hard, and we also believe that relationships, what you feed lives. I want to say that again. What you feed lives. So if you feed negativity into your relationship, that's what's going to live. If you're always tired and overwhelmed, that's what's going to live. If you feed some fun into your relationship, that will live. And one of the things that Morgan and I learned fairly early on, and we're still work in progress, is that we were working so hard and we were not having enough fun. We weren't balancing. We didn't have good work-life balance. So you guys see, we're still in here tonight working hard, and that's our norm. But we had to carve out, and we continue to carve out time to have fun. But that's a work in progress. Each of us has to sort of figure out uniquely what works for us as individuals and what works for us as a couple. So check out the YouTube page. Also check out the website, drrgconnects.com. If you guys, any of you, know someone that's interested in therapy, I'm your girl. I'm your therapist. I work with lots of different individuals, couples, families, many issues. We're here at Faith Inc., which is at 5398 Winfield Avenue on the first floor. It's a beautiful facility, and I do believe we've prepared it just for those persons who want to come and spend time with us working through their issues, but spend time in a place that honors who they are. We believe that we created a safe place for people to be able to process. So come on out and check us out. Also, make sure you check us out on our social media platforms. We're on Instagram, IG, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're also on Twitter. And I try to put some really good content out there. I try not to do too much of it, depending on what the platform is. But I'm always doing the Thoughtful Thursdays, and some other things that are inspiring for you guys as well. Well, here's the thing. What about the singles? Singles are important. You guys know, and I got to go back to you where you are. I don't see it. I'm going to scroll down. I was single for a long time, right? And there is nothing wrong with being single. And quite frankly, I enjoyed being single because I got to do what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, and how I wanted to do it. And for many years, well into my 40s, I do think, though, that a lot of times our culture doesn't do a very good job of helping single people live their best lives, right? Now, that would not be my crew, because my crew, and I still have many good, great, wonderful, lifelong friends that are single. I think it's a state of mind. If you feel like you are wonderful and enjoying your life as a single person, doing the things that you need to be doing, then go for it, enjoy it. And if at one point you decide that you want to open yourself up to partnership, that was kind of how I was. I was enjoying my single life, but I was also open to partnership. And I decided, like, whatever God had for me, I would be fine with it. And so there will be, even though we do date night, that's a good suggestion. We will make sure that we give some tips for singles as well, because I'm a living testament of what it looks like to live a single life and then move into a partnered life. So, because I didn't partner up when I was 20, I didn't partner up until when I was 30. It wasn't until I was 40, but I kind of like to say the 40s are the new 30s, right? That I partnered. But I think that there's a time and space for anything. So I'll be putting out some content for single people as well. And now that you've mentioned that, I think that my Thoughtful Thursdays is going to be related to single folks as well. And by the way, we all are still in relationships. So even sometimes when we're talking about intimate partnerships, when I'm talking about relationships, I talk about relationships with your siblings and with your friends, relationships with your colleagues and coworkers, relationships with your parents and your family. We're all relational, and those relationships are valuable, and we need to figure out how to be in healthy relationships with all the people that we're connected and attached to, not just the persons that we're in a intimate partnership with. There are other relationships that we are in, we need to focus on as well. Kim Howard joined the show. Thanks for joining the show, Kim. Lee Burgess says, a book named The Secret. Rhonda Byam talks about giving yourself permission to be happy. I like it. Who else I missed something? Oh, Dorothea, Jamel. Dr. Argie is the best. She will help you get on track. Thank you, Jamel. I miss you, girl. It's been a while. But I thank you. I appreciate it. I see some good things, and tell your mother that I said hello. surrounding yourself with like-minded people, that's really, really important as well. Absolutely. Lee Burgess. And then I think we're going to put my number. What about Signal? Oh, okay. Got you. And Ruth Ann says she lives in Thorpe, Florida, and I was talking about the therapy practices, so you know, for all of those, I do Zoom sessions. So I work with clients that are in New York and clients that are in Chicago, Florida, wherever you're at. It's a nice platform to be able to do clinical work when people are remote, and we still get it done. You get to see me in my office, I get to see you where you're at, and we just, get the work done. And it's a nice way to still continue to focus on the work. Atia said, nice, I need to look out for that. My husband and I love having fun as well. Good, absolutely. Listen, fun is, oh, hey, Marcos is on too. Fun is, I think, in some communities, a little underrated, right? Because a lot of times people are talking about work, right? And getting it done. And that's important. Yes, we need to be productive. We need to get work done. We need to make a living for our families and all of that. But if we're all out of sync and we're off balance and we're not creating enough fun for us in our lives, both individually and collectively, that's a problem. And so, ladies and men, not only do you need to be having fun with each other if you're in a partnership, but you also need to be able to go out with your girlfriends and hang out and have a good time, or your guy friends, or persons that you used to enjoy. Yeah, what does it look a little bit different when you're married? You don't have much free time to hang out with others. Absolutely. So you have to plan it differently, but it's still absolutely very important. There is a chemical called oxytocin that gets emitted from our brains when we actually are engaging in healthy dialogue and conversation and fun and laughing. Laughing is an aphrodisiac. It's fun. It's great. Sometimes I let out like this belly laugh. I don't know if you guys have heard my crazy belly laugh, but I do it. I mean, it is quite annoying. And that's not even it. It is quite annoying. I do agree. See, that's a little bit of it. I'm just going to give y'all a little bit of it. It's not a whole, I didn't give you like the whole full laugh, but for those of you who know me, it is, it's a pretty interesting, crazy laugh. But I do it purposely because the world that I live in and the work that I do is so, it's very heavy. It's very heavy. So I spend a lot of my time, which I believe that God has designed me to do, perfectly for the work that He has for me. And yet, at the same time, I recognize that because it's so heavy, the work that I do, that I need to let my hair down. I need to unwind. And, Morgan gives me a lot of comic relief on a regular basis. He does. Oh, he gives me a lot of comic. He does. Yes. Ruth Ann talks about essential oils are great. And Dr. Gail is on. Thanks for joining the show, Dr. Gail. Lisa's on. Yes, I love essential oils as well. They are they help to relax you, and they can also help to motivate you with regards to whatever your goals are. So if you all are just joining the show, I wanted you to know that, again, this is the Ask Dr. Argie Courageous Conversations Connect series, but our topic for Mindful Mondays is decluttering life's pileups. And we asked the question, is procrastination overwhelming you with excess? Where is the excess? They say that, I think I heard Denzel Washington say this, that you never see a U-Haul following a hearse. Have y'all ever heard of that? You never see a U-Haul following a hearse. And how I interpreted that is that you can't take it with you. Once you're gone, all that stuff that you accumulated, somebody's going to get rid of it. Maybe somebody will keep a few things, just as for sentimental value, but you've accumulated it, and it's your job to enjoy it absolutely while you're here, but you cannot take it with you. So I have a goal. I have kind of a secret goal. I don't know if it's really going to happen, but my secret goal is to become a minimalist. Like I really, in my fantasy world, I actually could see myself as a minimalist, like just having all, like, not living in a little house. Have y'all seen, like, on Pinterest, the little tiny houses where people live? They go in the woods somewhere and they build a little tiny house that only has the essential things, whatever. I'm not really talking. I'm not trying to go down that path. I'm working on purging. Lucy is helping me to purge. And as I said a little bit earlier, if you guys were listening, that I do believe that your physical space is a manifestation of what's going on in your emotional space and your relational space and your familial space, and yes, sometimes even in your professional space. And so if you are in disarray, if things are disorganized, if that's kind of the way that you've always been, then perhaps maybe that's just your norm. But if it's not your norm and you have moved or shifted, then our word last week was paradigm shift. Then I want to encourage you to evaluate what happened. What happened that shifted you to being pretty organized and everything's kind of in its place, to sort of disorganize and disarray, that's starting to overwhelm you, and then the piles start building up. And the piles, by the way, don't have to be physical piles. It could be physical piles of clothes and bills and shoes and paper, right? It can be that, but it also can be piles of pain, piles of distress, piles of frustration, piles of anger, piles of bitterness, piles even of rage. And what happens when those piles get high and overwhelm you? That is when what happens in your relationships is that they become very, very distressed because you're overwhelmed by all of the negative emotions in your body. Okay, so then that is sort of a call to action with regards to purging, not just the stuff, the physical stuff, but purging the emotional stuff. How do you do that? For one, you have to process, right? You sort of have to sit down and figure out, well, how did I get here? What happened that this all became a mess? And then do like Marie Kondo does and think about, are these things either externally or internally? Are they bringing me joy? Am I experiencing joy? Maybe happiness. I do believe sometimes happiness is based on what's happening, but do I have that internal joy? Now, you don't have to do what Marie Kondo does, which is like, take everything and put it close to your heart and pray over it and thank it and find out whether or not that inanimate object brings you joy. And if it does, thank it and hold on to it. And if it doesn't, then get rid of it. You don't have to go through those whole processes unless you really want to, but you can in your head think about all of these spaces and what in those spaces are contributing to your joy and what things in those spaces are taking away from your joy. And we're going to do a little wheel that I talked about a little bit earlier. We're going to put it together and we're going to have it on the website, and I'll show it to you on Work It Out Wednesdays. And you can use that as a tool to help you. Hopefully that's helpful. If you like this, share, tag, like, and comment. And I don't know who else is on because I've been talking for a minute. Hey, Tamron, I see you. I see you, little bro. Thanks for joining. We are, I'm sure that you would have something that resonates with this conversation. We're talking about decluttering our life's pile-ups, right? And how it is that too often we can get overwhelmed by like all the excess stuff in our lives. Shoes and clothes and bills and paper, but also emotions and relationships, right? And then unfinished business. How many people on this conversation, this dialogue, how many folks got unfinished business? How many people, you all, we're believe in truth, trust, and transparency leads to transformational breakthroughs. So how many people have stuff that they just have not finished? It was in your head that you were going to go back to school. It was in your head that you were going to write that book. It was in your head that you were going to go out there and get that new job or start that business. It was in your head that you were going to make some changes so that you could eat better, work out, be physically healthier, or be open to putting yourself in a target-rich environment, Dieta, just calling her out, putting yourself in a target-rich environment so that you would be open to partnership if that was God's design for you, right? It was all in your head. And then what happened is oftentimes we either get fearful and that causes us to flee, right? Or we just get overwhelmed and distracted by what I call weapons of mass distraction. And before we know it, all of those plans, all of those goals, all of those aspirations are out the window. So this is what it looks like. The clutter that is surrounding you, sometimes the clutter is the depression because you're not motivated to create the clearing and the spaces that you had at one point in your life where you were more open and free. And it also requires that we really be honest with the fact that we didn't finish some stuff. And then you have to determine for yourself is it worth cycling back and trying to reclaim that and moving forward, or do you just need to let it go? Some stuff we just need to let go, shut it down, close that chapter, call it done, right? Call it done, and then let it go. Forgive ourselves for whatever procrastination that kept us from doing that thing that we felt we were supposed to do, and then let's go. I say let go, let God, and let's go. So that means it's time to move. It's your call to action to elevate yourself. And by the way, once you free yourself and you begin to elevate, the universe will line up with you and you will be able to soar. T.D. Jakes has the book. He has two books out. One's called Crushing, that just came out, and the other one last year was called Soar. And I love that because it really speaks to how when we're free internally and in our community, in our spaces, that allows us to rise up and to thrive, not just survive. Who wants to just survive for their entire life? This is about thriving. So I don't know if that resonates with you guys. Tell me what your thoughts are about that. Weapons of mass distraction, Jamel said, absolutely. Tracy's on. Thanks for joining the show. Alan's on. Beatrice is on. Thanks for joining the show. Anybody else? Yeah. I don't see her. Ruth Ann said, if you don't use it, you lose it. Absolutely, Ruth Ann. Absolutely. Kawanda, I see Kawanda. Hey, Kawanda, thanks for joining the show. Jamel says, fun, finally unwinding from the norm. I love it. Melissa, thanks for joining the show. Who else? A Brinks truck. Okay. Never see a Brinks truck following her. So I've heard a couple of them. I've heard Brinks truck, U-Haul, those kind of things. Bottom line is you're gone, right? You're not here. You can't use the stuff while since you're gone. You're not here anymore. And it's I've heard the saying that people say that, you can either count every day or make every day count. And, since you're here, you might as well live a fantastic and abundant life, right? So what does that mean? Well, we like to use the word energy and frequency. What frequency are you on? Because if you use those frequencies, if those frequencies are connected with the right energy, that can move you into that paradigm shift that you're looking for. And that paradigm shift then moves you in the right direction. Now, I know that, depending on, what work you do out there in the universe, you may not have heard that before, but it's all lined up in the universe. It really is. And too often what happens is, I think somebody in the chat said that sometimes a lot of what goes on with you has to do with who you're lining up with, who you're hanging out with, what people you are spending time with. And if you're spending time with negative people, I guarantee you it won't be long before you're thinking negatively as well. Unfortunately, when you're, like people connect with like people, and even if you're very different, sometimes the spirit of influence can be very, very powerful. So what I like to suggest sometimes is that we think about being positive as an infectious influencer in the universe, right? And as we are thinking positively And as that becomes infectious, then we're able to influence others. But if we're in a system where it is very toxic and negative, that is when you have to start doing some spring cleaning. So people say, love you from a distance. It means just that to a certain degree, I may have to pray for you and love you from a distance while I'm over here working on living my best life. I don't know about y'all, but that is sometimes what we have to do in order to survive, in order to put our oxygen mask on first. Have the book title need to work on that, the inside. Okay. Oh, okay. So Morgan said to remind you guys to put the reminder on the phone. Okay. The reminder, here's your phone. On Monday nights, we do the Mindful Mondays. It's at 7:30. We have a little bit of wiggle room. We try to get on at 7:30, but if you give me a little bit of grace, because you guys know I'm usually in the office, so I'm seeing clients, so I have to make a transition. So we try to get on at 7:30, so set your reminders for that. Every Wednesday, we do WIOW, Work It Out Wednesdays, right? And that's at 7:30 as well. It's live. And, excuse me, if you have questions, we are open to your questions, because what we do is we take this rich conversation on Monday and whatever's trending, and then whatever your testimonies are on Testimonial Tuesdays or your questions, we unpack those on WIOW, Work It Out Wednesdays. We go deeper. So we will be going deeper in this conversation on Wednesday, and I want you guys to think about it. Come back on Wednesdays. Remember, I'm going to bring the tool that I talked about. I'll show it to you, and I'm going to put it on a website, and maybe we'll do a little bit of an exercise where I have you, if you download it, we'll have you to do it while we are doing it together. It'll be like really working it out, which I love. And then on Thoughtful Thursdays, I do a powerful, inspirational message that is meant to empower you, lift you up, give you words of wisdom, and of course, points of power. And then we have Freedom Fridays. Freedom Fridays is when I have you to tell me what you want me to talk about. This is a dialogue, and we are in a crew together. This is a community of people who want to and believe that we are connecting relationships for epic wins. I'm going to need you. My battery's going down. Yeah, I'm going to need you. Battery. Yeah, or give me that. Because I see it. I forgot to put the battery on my computer. Nice. Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's one in my book bag. All right. It's one in my book bag. In the closet. I'm sorry, guys. We got a little distracted because we went longer than I thought that we were going to, and now I think you're probably going to see me just a little darker because my battery is going down on my computer. So yeah, it's in the black bag. It's in the black bag. Beck is on, and Belva. Hey, Mother Waller, how are you? It's good to see you. What time is it? 9:30. Where are you at? Well, don't tell me where you're at, because I don't want to. Don't tell me where you're at. But I do want to say that it was so good seeing you on Resurrection Sunday and giving you a hug. And I just love you so much. And you know, I didn't see Tyrone's comments. Okay, I'll go back there. I was saying something another while. Oh, I see it. I see it. Stay on now. I think Morgan's plugging me in so that I get some juice. But Tyrone said, I've been allowing myself to do things afraid as a means of overcoming failure. I speak at Drexel tomorrow, and the anxiety is overwhelming, sis. But I decided to do it by faith. Love it, love it, love it, Tyrone. If it doesn't feel perfect to me, I would find a way to not complete it. But I'm literally taking the pressure off myself and placing it on God. By experience and faith, it is all I need for tomorrow. Woo! I love it, love it, love it. You're gonna be great. You're gonna be great. Excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. When I talk for a period of time, then I start getting close to the breath. I'm so excited for you, Ty. I don't know what to do. I'm tickled pink. I know that you're going to knock it out of the park. I know that you're going to just let go, and let God, and just let God use you. I would share with you what my mom shared with me. And I know many of you remember my mom before she passed away. She shared with me, she said, Argie, and I've been using this ever since. She said, open your mouth and God will speak for you. And she shared that with me years ago when I had shared with her that I had this vision that I was going to be speaking to thousands of people or millions of people. And she's like, just open your mouth. I never dreamed that I'd be like on the Today Show and speaking to 6.9 million people all at the same time. And the first time I did that, Tyrone, I was so scared. I was like shaking in my boots. I was so scared. And what I realized that I prayed about it and I said, you know what, just go for it. If it's for you, it's for you. God will make a way. If it's not for you, then, he has greater things for you at another time, appointed time. But usually when we've worked hard and he then puts us in location and position to bless, then he's going to get his mission accomplished, and he's going to get it accomplished through you. So do not, as Jean Austen Jefferson says, allow fear and faith to reside in the same place. It does not. So if you're fearful, keep it moving. Feel the fear way. Let's see. Kim Howard's on, Marcos. Let's see. I think I went all the way back. Okay. Yeah. So if you guys can do me the favor before we okay. What do you want to say, Morgan? What you want me to do? Okay. It is 9:26. Tell me, I did have some other things for you. I had, if you're decluttering your relationship, but I'm share these things with you, and then we're going to just kind of unpack them. I'm getting lots of thumbs up. I'm getting lots of hearts. Give me little smiley faces. I love my little smiley faces that you guys give me, so I appreciate that. We're going to work on this, unpacking this on Wednesday as well. There are a few things that I think can be helpful when you are decluttering your relationship, identifying which are healthy or unhealthy relationships. That's important, right? Ask yourself questions like about each relationship, like, does this person add to your life? You've ever asked yourself that question? Do they add to your life? Do they subtract from your life? Do I add to this person's life or subtract from their life? Ask yourself that question. If you've determined the relationship is dragging you down, ask yourself the question, is it worth it? That's a really, really good question to ask yourself. Is it worth it to stay in the relationship? Give me some thumbs up or some hearts if that makes any sense, or like if you resonate with that. Because for me, I've been in relationships where it was absolutely time to declare and not keep that relationship past its expiration date. But sometimes I did keep the relationship because it was valuable to me. It was worth it. And I realized I had to then change my expectation of that relationship because I would continuously be disappointed if I didn't change my expectations. So it's an individual decision for yourself. But we're talking about spring cleaning, and part of that is decluttering your relationships. And so I think that that's really, really important for you to think about. And then what about if you let go? Is it okay? Are you okay with letting go of past relationships? That's really, really important too, because to be honest with you, sometimes if we say that we're okay with letting go, but we're not. Hey, Rich is on. Tony, hey, Tony from California. Tony Wilson, cousin. Thanks for joining the show. If you're not okay with letting go, then I guarantee you'll cycle back to that relationship, and you'll find out what I probably found out over the years, that the relationship was the same, nothing really had changed, and that the reason that the relationship ended was the reason that the relationship ended, that it wasn't going to get any better. Sometimes if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so I was looking for a shift, a change in that person, but that person wasn't ready or willing or able to change. So these are things I want you to consider. Don't make the mistake of keeping people past their expiration date. Never stay in a negative or toxic relationship because of longevity, loyalty, or legacy, or guilt, right? Because if you stay for legacy, it may come back to bite you in the butt. If you stay for loyalty, the same thing. And if it's just that you're in it because you've been in the relationship so long, but it's not offering you anything, then it still may be time to let that relationship go. Also, relocation. If you've determined a close relationship is unhealthy, but you don't want to let go of it altogether, maybe you relocate that relationship. Maybe you decide, okay, you're not going to have a front row seat in my life, but I'll relocate it so that, we still have part of that relationship that is still intact. The person is not in the front row, then there's someplace else. And that includes, again, changing your expectation and determining whether you have seasonal people or lifers. And then finally, recognize that closure is necessary to declutter your relationship. It is necessary. What does that mean? Sometimes you have to have the closure talk, right? And the talk is the conversation with you first, and then maybe the conversation is with the other person. But you are going to have to talk about it. You're going to have to weigh the pros and cons, process in your own head what it's like without that person, identify what you learned from that relationship, and what are the reasons that you need to let it go. And then share that process with someone. Someone that you trust, someone that you feel that will give you sage advice, and then begin the process of finally embracing your new norm so that you're better and not bitter. That's all I got for tonight. This is Dr. Argie. Have a beautiful night on purpose from my heart to yours. And I'll see you on Work It Out Wednesday, right, at 7:30. Have a good night, guys. I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it.